Welcome to UPLEVEL, Real Health, Real Talk with Dr. Jenna Blasi. I'm Dr. Jenna. I spent years crafting ways to help women thrive, and I want to help you do the same. On this podcast, we dive deep into health at every level, focusing on the mind, the body, and the spirit. This is where real conversations meet transformational wellness. We'll be talking about all the things that truly matter, from nutrition and fitness to lifestyle, mindset, and personal development. Plus, the real deal on managing stress and navigating menopause. So if you're ready to elevate your health journey with authentic, transformative insights, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to UPLEVEL, Real Health, Real Talk with Dr. Jenna Blasi. Today, I want to start by painting a picture. And I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar. A woman comes into my practice and she has been struggling with gut symptoms for years, bloating, discomfort, irregular digestion, and she's done the research. She's eliminated gluten, and then dairy, and then eggs, and then nightshades. She tried a parasite cleanse, or sometimes in other people, several parasite cleanses. She did a candida protocol. She got tested for SIBO twice. And today, she has a list of foods she's afraid to eat that is longer than the list of foods she feels safe eating. And here's the thing, she's not better. In some ways, we could argue she's worse, and she's terrified of food. I see this all the time. And the bulk of what has driven her down this path is information from the internet. That rabbit hole, right? Information that felt credible, it felt clinical, and it was delivered by people in white coats or with big followings that has led her further and further from the truth. If you take one sentence away from today's episode, let it be this. The goal is to eat more food, not less, more variety, more color, more diversity. All right, I'm not talking about portions. When I say the goal is to eat more food, I'm not talking about huge American-sized portions. I'm talking about variety, color, diversity, food groups. This is what a healthy gut runs on. And everything we talk about today comes back to that. All right. And then next week, I have an incredible guest, Dr. Kim Bretz, who spent over 20 years in this space. And she goes even deeper on what we cover today. So think of this episode as kind of a setup, and next week as like the conversation that's going to bring all of this together. Okay. So let's start with some myths. The biggest myth is that your food list should get smaller. This is absolutely where I want to start, because I think that this is the most damaging thing that the internet has done to women's gut health. The internet has convinced women, and unfortunately, like a lot of practitioners within that the path to gut health is elimination. Take out gluten, take out dairy, FODMAP diet, take out histamines, oxalates, right? And every time your symptoms flare, take out something else. I hear this all the time. I can tolerate fewer and fewer foods, right? Until the list of foods that you feel safe eating is almost nothing. That's not health. That's not sustainable. That's not health. Nobody enjoys that. And that will just continue to get worse. And so I want to be clear, though, about a distinction, all right? A structured, temporary, clinically guided elimination phase as part of a larger program with a clear path for reintroduction, that is often a useful clinical tool. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about indefinite elimination, no end in sight, no plan, no reintroduction, no guidance, where the list just keeps shrinking. Where the list shrinks and then there's no strategy or plan to actually, like, why are we doing that? The goal, when I do that with people, is so that the list is bigger, so that you can eat more. And here's what the research is showing us. Long-term restriction decreases your microbiome diversity. And a less diverse microbiome is a less resilient gut. This is why these women are also not better. This is why when you go to finally try to reintroduce something, there's no tolerance. It's like we can't even do it because the gut is not resilient. So the very thing that women are doing to try to heal is often perpetuating the problem. So I want you to think of a garden analogy. I do the garden analogy a lot when I'm talking about mind and mindset and which garden do we want to water. In this case, think of your microbiome like a garden. Diversity is the goal. Beautiful garden with lots of different things. You don't want one plant. You want hundreds of different plants thriving together. And every time you eliminate a food group indefinitely, you may be pulling a plant out of that garden. And over time, the garden gets smaller, less resilient, less able to handle anything. We want to be adding to that garden, not taking away. Remember, the goal is to eat more food, not less. All right, here's some other myths worth calling out, things that are circulating online that are potentially causing real harm. Like at best, they're not helping and you're wasting your time and money. And at worst, they're causing real harm. All right. And then differentiating that from what's actually true. Number one, parasite cleanses. I get this question a lot. And this can be a real rabbit hole, the parasite cleanse trend. Do you address parasites? Do you do parasite cleanses? I've done this, I've done that. Okay, real talk. If you have a confirmed parasite identified through proper testing, there is a treatment for that. That is medicine. That is appropriate. Not what I'm talking about here. A random cleanse from a wellness account to kill some theoretical parasite that was never confirmed. A lot of these products that folks are using are not selective, right? They might affect organisms that you're targeting, but they also might affect the larger gut microbiome. And if your microbiome is already imbalanced, you don't have enough good bacteria to spare. All right, so this isn't the end all path. Please talk to a practitioner before you go down this road, because the other thing with this that I see is if you don't actually have a parasite, right? Like you just were traveling overseas, like there's actually a parasite that needs to be addressed. That's appropriate. But this random, like continual parasite cleansing that people are doing is still to me a downstream issue. If we feel like we need to do cleanse after cleanse after cleanse because we have this overgrowth and that overgrowth and this is happening and that is happening, what's going on with the gut that's even happening? Right? Why are we having so much dysbiosis? Just going after, and we're going to talk about this next week with Dr. Kim, the constant like restrict and kill. We're always looking to kill something. How about we build? How about we go upstream and like address the terrain that is the foundation of the gut. So, which brings me to myth number 2. Myth is that everyone has SIBO. Everyone has SIBO. All right, so SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It feels like every woman I know has been told she has it or has diagnosed herself with it from a quiz online or from symptoms, etc. And here's the real talk. SIBO is a real diagnosis. It exists, but it has somehow become significantly overdiagnosed. Partly because the breath testing that we use to diagnose it has real limitations, and partly because the symptoms overlap with so many other conditions: bloating, gas, discomfort. These are not automatically SIBO, and treating for SIBO when it isn't actually the issue means you aren't solving, or you are solving the wrong problem. Again, I had a whole episode on like, are we solving the right problem? And this is this cycle that I see people with the SIBO diagnosis is antibiotics, and then symptoms come back, and then antibiotics again, and they're in this cycle. Maybe the actual issue is that we're not solving the right problem. And this is exactly what we talked about in our very first episode. that I just mentioned. I think that was June. I think it was our very first June episode. Are you solving the right health problem? All right, same principle applies here. Myth number 3, and I've said this many times, if your tests are normal, nothing is wrong. This one is frustrating. This one sits with me because I see all of the unnecessary suffering that this has caused. Your labs are normal. You're fine. And then sometimes even further, it's in your head. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just stress. You're being hysterical, whatever it is. So sometimes the problem isn't that testing failed. All right. It's that we're asking the wrong test to answer the wrong question. So if your tests are normal, right, doesn't mean nothing is wrong, because did we even do the right tests to say that? Now, I've talked also that like what's in range for one person is not necessarily optimal for another. But here's what I want you to know about like your standard gut testing is it's designed to find serious disease, colorectal cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, H. pylori, the bigger things, the dangerous things. And thank goodness that we test for those. But there is an enormous category of gut conditions, disorders of gut-brain interaction, or DGBIs, where every test comes back normal and the woman is told nothing is wrong and she's dismissed. She's told to do some deep breathing. It's just stress. Just do some deep breathing. Globally, close to 42% of people have at least one disorder of gut-brain interaction. And in women specifically, it's nearly 1 in 2. And the standard tests miss them almost entirely. So your symptoms are real. A normal result from a test does not mean nothing is happening. That our standard tests, like they simply weren't designed to find that. What this means though, is that we need to look differently and with someone who understands what to look for. And I talk about as well in my over-personalization of health episode that we can go down testing, functional medicine testing rabbit holes too. I have seen those lead to dead ends for people. Like sometimes those tests are really appropriate and they really give information that helps us hone in. And other times people go down a rabbit hole with those. All right. So next week, Dr. Kim Bretz is going to go deep on exactly like what's happening and why in these situations. So I want to wrap this up with what actually moves the needle, because I always want this to be practical for you and applicable. My goal is that you have an aha moment. You're like, oh my gosh, but you also realize you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not, crazy. Like, okay, my symptoms are real. And there also is something I can do about this. So if the cleanses and the endless restriction aren't the answer, which spoiler alert, they're not, what is? And the things that actually move the needle in gut health are not exciting. I feel like I want to do a drum roll, like the things that actually move the needle in gut health, drum roll, not exciting. They're foundational and they work. They work. All right. So sometimes I feel like a broken record, but this is real talk. And so let's break this down. Fiber and plant diversity, 30 different plant foods a week, not servings, varieties. This is the single most impactful dietary change for microbiome health that we have solid research behind. I got a text from my sister-in-law recently. It says, I listen to your podcast and I'm now tracking my plant fiber diversity and amounts. I love that. Like one simple thing can really just change a lot of downstream issues that we're having. So plant and fiber and plant diversity. Managing stress. I don't want to say like when we're told like it's just stress, you need to breathe through this. No, but we do want to manage our stress. The gut and the nervous system are in constant conversation. You cannot supplement your way out of a chronically stressed nervous system. And I also want to go on a little tangent here and just talk about how deeply some of us identify with our diagnoses And this is a mindset opportunity, I'm going to say. All right. When we are, some of us are so attached. It's like we've been told we have autoimmune, we have lupus, we have ulcerative colitis, whatever it is. And we think like we're slave, or we're, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we're submissive to that diagnosis. But we have so much power available to us. And this is where like the power of mindset, it's not in your mind, but the power of your mind to say, hey, my disease doesn't define me. I just want to say like, that's a stress of, identifying with our disease in that way. And it can really inhibit making quantum leaps in your health. All right. So on a physical plane, you can't supplement your way out of a chronically stressed nervous system. On a mental emotional plane, what could it mean for you if you could let go of what you feel that diagnosis even means for yourself, and what's possible, and open yourself up to amazing possibilities? All right, just slipping a little mindset because you know how I love it. Regular movement. Microbiome diversity increases with regular physical activity. So how many more reasons do we need? Move your body. Move your body. That's a song, right? Move your body. And anyway, I think that's a song. I feel like I can remember a Move Your Body song I used to play in my fitness classes. Regular movement doesn't, like if you're not used to moving, just get moving. Doesn't have to be huge. Could be a simple walk, or maybe you are moving, but you could add a little more, little stretch breaks in between sitting at a desk. Today I'm sitting on this, my butt is actually starting to hurt, but I'm sitting on this like wobbly stool. I think my son or my husband got it for me like years ago, and I don't ever use it, but it's supposed to engage my core and keep me a little more engaged while I'm sitting. So I'm not saying that counts as movement, but the little things that we can do to mix it up. All right, sleep. The microbiome has its own circadian rhythm, and poor sleep disrupts it directly. Poor sleep disrupts it directly. All right, so diversity of food and plants, managing our stress, regular movement, making sure we're sleeping, which also affects how we eat. It also affects how we manage stress, and it also affects how much energy we have to move our bodies. But the microbiome has its own circadian rhythm that is directly affected by poor sleep. And then eating more, not talking portions, but eating, unless you're under eating more, not less, bringing food back. Variety, color, and joy around the table. Like that's important too. Like I see so much stress around like, well, what am I going to do when I go to on this trip and I can't eat this, and are they going to have gluten-free this? And I'm not talking about people with celiac disease, okay? But like those of us that just, our list just keeps getting smaller and smaller. We're more and more restricted. And then everything we start to do becomes a stress, because what will we be able to do for food? Or we have to cook our own meals and not enjoy food with our family. So joy around the table, bringing food back. And if you've been restricted, let me just say, for a really long time, you've got to do this slowly. Your microbiome needs time to adjust. It's like if you are in a dark room and you put the full lights on to wake up, it's blinding. Your eyes adjust to the light gradually. You can't if you just walked out into the bright sun from a dark room, versus letting the eyes adjust. It's the same with the microbiome. If you've been restricting for a really long time, we have to add back in very small amounts and then a little more. And what I see all too often is people have been restricting for a long time, and then they have a meal with tons of whatever, broccoli or beans or great, like something. And they're like, oh, I can't tolerate that at all. Oh my gosh, my stomach was upset for hours. Oh, I was so upset because it was too much. It's like that all or nothing thinking. We can't have all or nothing eating where we're completely restrictive and then we just bombard our guts. So we've got to do this gradually, but the goal is bringing food back, variety, color, and joy. And in closing, I want you to notice something about this list I just gave you. None of it's trendy. None of it's flashy. None of it comes from a bottle. None of it promises results in 7 days. It's the fundamentals, done consistently, stacked up over time. Okay, so super excited to talk to Dr. Kim Bretz next week, where we go even deeper on these things and what actually works, and you don't want to miss that one. Okay, so, and just I'll introduce her next week, but Dr. Kim Bretz has been doing this work for over 20 years, and she teaches at university, and she's a Menopause Society certified practitioner, and she goes deep on everything we touched on today, the DGBIs, the misinformation, what actually works in her practice. It's such a good conversation, and I think you're going to love her. I think she's great. Okay, so action steps. I always want to give you a few action steps to choose from. Look at your current food list. Is it getting smaller or bigger over time? If it's getting smaller, that's information. It's not a reason to panic, but it's a reason to work with someone who can help you start adding back, not indefinitely continually taking things away to where your list is like, I can eat these 3 foods. If you've been told your tests are normal, but something still feels off, trust that. Just keep looking. Keep looking. Find someone who will work with you, who can partner with you in your health. Your gut isn't asking you to fear food, and it's not fun to fear food. It's asking you to understand it. It's a system that is to be nourished. All right. And I promise you it feels like it, but your body's not working against you. Like I don't promise you it feels like it, but I hear this a lot. I know it probably feels like it, but your gut is not working against you. It's just communicating and asking for something different. So thank you all, as always, so much for joining me. And next week we have my wonderful guest, and I look forward to seeing you then. Share this with a friend if you think it will change their lives, and let us know your thoughts. Reach out to us. hello@uplevelholistichealth.com. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for joining me on this episode of UpLevel, Real Health, Real Talk. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your health journey, one that nourishes not just your body, but your mind and spirit as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's episode, please leave a review. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thriving. And remember, true wellness is a journey, and you are on the right path.